Hey guys, you've seen the thumbnail and you know what this one's about. This is about the EXB body posts and what you can do to make them a lot stronger. Now, when we did our unboxing video for this, we showed you basically how to strengthen them, and of course it was untested at that point. And we've run it a long time and we still haven't broken one, but this is what happens. Now this is a stock one, there's absolutely no modifications to it. And Robert rolled his once. I watched it happen, it wasn't severe, and it snapped it right off. Temperatures were right about 75 degrees, so it wasn't brittle plastic. It's just how these things are designed. Now, the thing about that is, this is a brand new set, right here, and I got the front and the rear, and this is what we're talking about. Right here, these tabs. You see how twisty those are? Now, that's okay, twisty's fine, it's not a big deal. But they snap off so easily because they're kind of flimsy and frail. Now there's a lot of power that gets put into the car when the body comes down on the body and not the suspension. And these usually pay the price. It's a really tough deal. So I got a brand new set. I have the front and the rear. And we're going to show you how to do that modification. Now in the previous video, I explained that I would show you how that's done. So today we're going to do that. But before we actually get to that point, we're going to go ahead and take you out and show you some damage. We're going to go out and hit the ramps, and we're going to do all kinds of weird stuff with this car. And we're going to test it fully. We're not going to hold anything back. And before you say, hey, you're a terrible driver, this is a calculated test. I'm intentionally doing this to the car, and it's one of those things that kind of breaks my heart to have to do. But if it helps you guys, I can fix it. So that's not a big deal. So we're going to take it out. We're going to punish it properly. And we're going to test these body mounts and see what it takes to break one. Now, if it does hold up, we're going to show you how to do the modification, and we're going to kind of split that running footage up into two segments. The first segment is just to get the basics down so you can see what kind of testing we do. If you hang around to the end of the video, you're going to get to see the rest of the running footage, which I don't think you're going to want to miss, guys. So let's do this. Okay, so there's the running footage, and you saw the torture that we put it through, at least part of it. Keep in mind, that's only the first bit. There's a lot more. We did that for most of the afternoon, but it wasn't all on the ramp. But we still tested it in a proper form. So We did bring it down on the body intentionally as many times as possible, and we broke a lot of things in the car, but keep in mind, this you can put a battery in and still run it. Now there are bent items in there, there are broken items in there, and we're about to get the body off and show you the damage firsthand. Here's the thing. We haven't done anything to this. We brought it in and put it on the bench. So we're gonna have a look, you and I together, and we're gonna see if it broke any of the parts we were testing. And if it broke them, is it something that we can modify to make better? So let's go ahead and get you down in close. We'll have a close inspection of the car and see what kind of damage it took. But just don't forget, it still runs, and I can put a battery in it. It sounds terrible, but I can put a battery in it and run it right now. So let's get you down on the bench and check it out. Okay, to get down inside of this thing, let's have a look at the front first. And the top body posts there, they're still solid, still good. Nothing's broke, nothing's fractured. The bumper, it paid the price. Look at that. That's some pretty good damage. But the suspension, all good, no issues there. Rear suspension, that's good too, no problems there. The rear body posts, now that's a different story. Looking at it overall, the tab stayed good. It did break one of the hoops, and that's right there. So the hoop's broken, the tab stayed in place, and it destroyed the contact points. The bumper's got a couple of small fractures in the ovals, but that's about it. The rear tail is missing. It broke the connecting rod to the center. Both of the center drive lines are bent substantially. That was the noise you were hearing. Front and rear, both bent, just like that. And it tore one of the wires off of the motor cooling fan right there. And of course, the body brace itself over the top of the differential, that has shattered as well. So that's some substantial damage. Looking underneath it, look at that. Still straight. I'm shocked. No damage. Cool. Okay, so as you can see, we've had some significant damage, but most of it is superficial and exterior. We did rip the end off of the center brace right here, and that's a pretty easy changeover. I've got an upgrade for that. And keep in mind, guys, the rebuild on this is going to be a different video. This is going to concentrate on these. But just to go over the car real quick, we definitely bent the drive shafts in the center. The exterior drive shafts are all straight. The chassis is still straight. You know, everything functional wise is still in great shape, and we punished this hard. Look at this. The front one, undamaged. Everything is no cracks, no anything. All the tabs, and like I said, Rob broke his with one rollover, and we did way more to this one, and this one held up fully. The rear one did pretty well as well. So everything on the tabs is good. It did break one spot on the bracket, and this is the basket that holds it. So it's got one broken spot there. 3 points are still in great shape, so this would still function, but it hit hard enough to actually break all the stubs off the bottom. You have to be really extreme to do that. So I would say that this is a pretty good fix, and there's a couple of things that you can use to do that, and we'll go over that right quick here. But what I want to show you is how to do that. And it's not a huge deal, but it does take a little time and patience, but it'll pay off in the long run. So let's go ahead and clear off the bench, and we'll show you how to get started. Okay, behind me on the bench are some of the things you're going to need, but a couple of things that are really important. And you can use fiberglass. I don't know if it'll hold up as well, but I use the carbon fiber. Now this is 1.5 millimeters, and you can go 2 millimeters. That'll fit in there if that's what you have. But 1.5 seems to do the job quite nicely. So that's what we're going to use for this bit of it. So carbon fiber, you can get it at a lot of your hobby shops, and this sheet was like $32, so it wasn't too bad, and you can use it for a lot of different things. We're not going to use a whole bunch of it, but this is what we're going to use. Also, when you're cutting those kinds of things, you're going to want a mask of some sort. This is an actual, painter's mask. This works really good for removing particulates. You don't want to be breathing that stuff in, but if you have to, KN95 masks are just about everywhere right now, so you should be able to get one of these, and that will filter out the particulates as well. So be safe when you're doing this. And also, when you're cutting on those, you definitely want to wear some sort of hand protection, because we're going to be using one of these. And this is a reciprocating saw, just like so, and it vibrates really fast, and the teeth, I'm not touching the trigger, the teeth are on the end here, and they plunge right through stuff. It cuts carbon fiber pretty good. You need to be patient, but if you're going to use something like this with a blade, I definitely recommend gloves. And these aren't just your average gloves, these are nitrile gloves, and they're cut proof. So if you're going to do this, make sure you have the right gear to do it, and if you're not old enough to do it, make sure dad's got the gear, because this isn't something you're just going to want to do, you know, if you've never done it before, because these things can be a little skittish and they can cut you pretty fast. Also, on top of that, to fix things in, we're going to use a hot glue gun, and this is the one I'm using here, and I use just your regular clear hot glue, and it works really well. It held up on the last one really good. It'll hold up pretty good on this one, but when you use this, you want to make sure and get it good and hot. Let it sit for a while till it's actually drooling out of the end here, and that'll let you know it's hot enough, because if you don't get enough heat on it, it'll set up before you get your parts in place, and you'll have to peel it all out and try again. So make sure this is good and hot. And the gloves do help for that as well. Also, for the project, in order to build your jig or your pattern, you're going to want some tape, and this tape here needs to be narrow enough to fit down between the uprights here. So it needs to fit right down over this channel so you can make the proper deal. We're going to make a piece that goes sideways on each end and a piece. So it's going to look like an eye when we're done with it. And they're, just so you know, the back is wider than the front, so you can't just build two, you have to build each one individually. And when you're building your jig, you're going to want a pen, and I use the Sharpie permanent markers, those work pretty good, and an X-Acto knife to cut things to the exact size. With all those little tools in mind, now we can get started on the project. All right, so we'll clear off the post mounts here and just get them out of the way to start with, and we'll go ahead and get our tape in place. Now center the tape here, guys, because you want to trim both sides. So run it over a little long and then press it down in the center and work it tightly up against the edges. You're going to want a flexible tape here. Stiff tape is going to be a problem, it won't stay in place, so you want something nice and flexible, hopefully something that's fresh, and just run it down into all the seams just so that you get a good solid contact point. We'll want to trim our ends right on the end there, and be careful, those X-Acto knives do slip. So run it down nice and snug, because the next step, we're going to need to get into these corners. So go ahead and snug it down, just like that. Okay, now with a marker, you wouldn't think you'd need the marker, but you do. So run the marker down the sides like this, and this is going to give us our spacing. Your first impulse is going to go ahead and trim right to the corners. That's not the case. Be inside, so favor the inside of the black marker, and that's going to give you some spacing so the glue can encapsulate the part. So this is a necessary step. Don't skip this one, guys. It's important. So go ahead and trim your ends off. Don't be too crazy about this. You're going to put another piece over it anyway. Just make it so you can get your side rail pieces off. Just trim them out nice and easy like this, and then we're going to go ahead and peel that piece out. So go ahead and pry that up. If you cut it good, it should pull straight out, just like that. And as always, guys, when you're using an X-Acto knife, be real careful with it. They can slip real easy, and they can cut you. And it really wouldn't hurt to wear the cut-proof gloves, but it should look like that when you're done. Now we're going to go ahead and work on the end pieces. So there's two of those, one on each side. So stretch a new piece of tape over, and this you can get fairly close to the inside edge. So you get it in place, and then go ahead and pack it down just like you did the other one. Get it into all the seams and grooves so you can see the perimeter. That's the important part. And again, we're going to use the ink pen, and we're going to give us our spacing that goes around it. And in case you didn't quite catch what that's about, that's going to allow the glue a place to come out around the edge of the piece so the glue can affix it down really well. If you just have the piece showing, it's going to be able to peel away. So you want to encapsulate the piece. So pull your extras off, and it should look something like that. Now we'll go ahead and do the other side, just like we did the first side. Make sure you work it down in there. Take the time to get it into the seams nice and tight. You're going to want a good solid piece. Make your marks again, and then carefully trim that out. Pull the excess away, and there you have it. That's what you should have. See the gap on the sides? You want that gap. Now, these braces have rollers on one side. That indicates front or back. So go ahead and put the arrows on it just to show you where your orientation is. So now pry this out nice and easy. And you want it, since these are overlap tape, they can pull apart. So pry it up good so you can get a hold of the bottom piece and then gently lift it out. Just like that. And then we'll go ahead and stick this, which is our pattern now. We're going to stick this right on the carbon fiber, and this is the piece we're going to trim out. And it should look something like that. Okay, now we want to fix this down nice and snug. You don't want this to move. Perfect. Okay, with the pattern built and on the carbon fiber, now it's time to go ahead and do our cutting with the power tool. Now, this does make quite a bit of noise with the carbon fiber because it's a reciprocating saw, so we've got ear protection here. We do have our N95 mask to prevent the particulates from getting inside because carbon fiber, you don't want to be breathing that. And the cut-proof gloves. So, check this out. Okay, so now real carefully line up with the inside of the tape and cut gently up to it. Now this thing does grab once in a while, so you have to be real light, and you can brace it with your thumb. Just don't get anywhere near the cutting edge. Work it nice and gently up there. And you want to cut right into the edge of the tape a little bit. That'll give you a little extra room for the glue, like so. And when you're cutting these straight lines, these long ones, you can't cut it all at once. You have to take it in layers. So we'll just work ourselves across. I'm going to speed this up just so it doesn't take so long. And just sort of work your way back and forth, and you'll cut all the way through it. Just like that, nice and easy. And then work your corners. So you want to get in nice and careful. And you'll notice when it frees up like that, get into your corners, and the piece comes right off. There it is. Real good. Okay, we'll do the same thing on the other side. Start with the long cut. Work your way through it. And that's not smoke, guys. That's just the dust that's coming off of the carbon fiber. My camera angle is terrible, but all I'm doing is digging in on the edges here. Just like that. And then the long cut. And do the last one there, and it'll peel right off. Nice and easy. See how that matches the jig just right? So let's test fit it. Go ahead and set it into the unit. And you should have clearance now all the way around. Have a look at this. See how it's smaller than where it's sitting? That'll leave you room for the glue. Test fit it again with the tape off, and you'll see that it's not perfect, but it will do the job. So now, see how the glue gun is dripping? That means it's good and hot, and you definitely want this plenty hot enough. So I've let this run for about a half an hour to get good and soft. So I'll line this up and carefully put some glue in here. Don't overdo it because you only need so much. So just put a line in there. It's going to mash down flat underneath the carbon fiber anyway. So just give yourself a nice line there, and then time counts here. So as quickly as you can, get the piece in place. This is where the gloves come into handy. Push it down in. See how the glue gets on you? That burns like crazy. So definitely have some gloves on when you do it. And these little tendrils, they come right off. Just pull away and they come off. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to seal the whole top side of this. We want glue all the way around the edges, and that's going to give you more contact with the bracket itself, and it helps it hold in place. Plus, when we go to put the zip ties in, it'll give it something to grip onto. So seal it up best you can, and you won't see this afterwards anyway, so go ahead and just clean it up, get it as good as you can, but you'll not see it, so it won't matter. So I missed a little spot. You turn it a little bit, you'll see it on the left side. See that little shiny spot right there? So we need to go ahead and fill that in as well. So we'll get a little extra glue into that. There we go. And as long as this glue is clear, it's hot. As it starts to cool off, it'll get a bit of a haze to it, and you'll be able to tell when it's set up. This stuff is still pretty hot. Okay, so see how that is? Now I'm just using zip ties here, and these are important. Don't skip this step. So put the zip tie on the end and pull them up good and tight. Make sure they're good and tight there, and snip them off. And look how clean that is. That's the only way you can tell this has been done, because you'll see that from the top. Everything else hides. Notice that? When it's in the car, you won't notice that that's been done. So do it to each side. Get your zip tie up close, make sure you push it out to the end, and then cinch it down. And get a good pair of pliers, hold the button, and pull it as hard as you can without breaking anything, and then snip it off. Nice and clean. Have a look at that. That's what it'll look like in the car. Nice and clean, no one will ever know. And look how it still flexes, up, down. It twists just fine, but it's very strong now that it's got the carbon fiber in it. Okay, so there you go. That's the build for the body mounts for the Mojave. Now, this is a really simple thing, but I really think you're going to need the carbon fiber. You could definitely try fiberglass, and it may be enough to hold it together, but the carbon fiber is definitely a lot stronger. You know, there's a couple of things in here that really matter, and check out this. It's still flexible, and let's show you on this one, because that'll be a little closer for you to see. Check this out. See how it's, and this one's got the carbon fiber in there. See how it still twists, and look how far you can twist it, and it holds up. And that's not all. You can bend them in any direction, and it's really strong. Now, right here, this zip tie is necessary, and the reason it's necessary is if you hook the body on something, and that's like catching it here and yarding up on the body, if you do that without this zip tie, it can peel it off of the carbon fiber and snap this off anyway. So this zip tie, the ones on each end here, these hold it to the carbon fiber, so even if you bend up on it, and I'm not being light here, you can't break it. It's really strong, so it does hold it together really good. So it's a nice add-on. That being said, you do have to be patient when you're building them. It does matter. They can be a little finicky, and the tools do jump around a little bit. And don't forget, these are power tools we're talking about, so if you're not skilled with one yet, have somebody supervise and make sure that you do it in a safe manner. We don't want anyone getting hurt trying to do this. It's kind of an advanced thing, but with some training, just about anyone can do it. Hey guys, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and don't forget that little notification bell to stay informed. You know, here at the studio, we enjoy coming up with little gadgets, wherever we can, here and there. We're really proud of this one. You know, the carbon fiber was a really good add-on, and I enjoyed testing it. It was really a lot of fun. The repairs are going to be in another video, but still, it was worth it, I think. If this helps you guys keep from having to buy body posts over and over and over, it's definitely worth it. So if you guys have any mods or anything that you can add to this video to help others, please feel free to leave it in the comments down below and help others along the way. Hey guys, I'm AJ with AJ Jam Studios saying, keep wrenching, guys. I saved that. Woo-hoo!
You come